Okay, today we've got a fun one. He's a friend, lives out by me when he's in town. Jimmy John, he's from Illinois. Correct, Jimmy John sandwiches, which I'm sure a lot of us have had. He created it from damn near nothing. I think his dad gave him $25,000, and I'll let him tell his story. This is also going to be the easiest podcast I've ever done because Jimmy is amazing and loves to talk and will be entertaining as hell. So I'm probably going to say, Jimmy, tell the story, and an hour later, I'm going to say, thanks for coming out. So it's going to be a good one. I'm excited for this one. He's an awesome dude. He's fun. He's funny, energetic. So get ready. Let's get him in here because he's going to go. All right. Here we go. This is going to be a fun one. Jimmy John, friend, awesome. I mean, I was saying when I did my intro before you got here, I said, I think this is going to be the easiest podcast I've ever done just because your story is so fascinating and you're an amazing storyteller. So I'm just pretty much going to ask one question and you're just going to go.
Sure.
So
Happy to do it.
How the hell did you go from Illinois to billion-dollar empire and just kind of running the sandwich game?
So I actually built it to an almost $3 billion empire before I sold it. But it really, it started totally random. Mm-hmm. I graduated second to last in my high school class, and
second to last?
Second to last in my high school class, yeah. And about 3 months before graduation, my dad told me, he said, Jimmy, you need to sign up for the Army, and you need to do something, but you can't live at home after you graduate. Obviously, college isn't an option. Mm-hmm. So he said he fought the Korean War. My older brother Greg drove a APC, Armored Personnel Carrier. My little brother Robbie was an Army Ranger. And so my dad just assumed that I would go in the Army. And we were late bloomers, I didn't get a low voice until I was 18, and I'm not sure how low my voice is even now. So we're late bloomers and immature. And anyway, he thought Army was good for young boys to do. And so he didn't really care much about my grades. He just said, go to the Army, become a man, and figure it out.
Did you have jobs like in high school and growing up and stuff?
I did. When I was a junior in high school, I shoveled snow in the winter. No shit, when I was like in second grade for $1. I lived in Hoffman Estates, Illinois, and shoveled those driveways for $1. Yeah. And I just went and hustled door to door, and I just wanted to make some dough. And I think maybe I'd do 4. When it snowed, and it was cash. $4 then was big money. For a quarter, you get a Snickers bar and some bubble gum and be good to go. Yeah. So I did that, and then when I was a junior in high school, I went to work at I worked on the work program, and I worked at a company called K40 Electronics, which did these radar detectors that they install in cars, with front and rear radar detectors, like a high-end custom-installed radar detector. Mm-hmm. And the company was started with CB antennas, and I did customer service. So I took phone calls every day, and I solved problems.
Really?
And so whatever it was that a customer needed, I would solve the problem. And then if I couldn't solve the problem, I just went to my boss. Yeah. So I did that. I worked from like 1 to 5 junior and senior year, 1 to 5. Monday through Friday, and then 8 to 12 on Saturday. So I worked in high school. And I just learned to problem solve, and I learned to talk to people. I learned to hustle a little bit. And I never really thought much of it, but I liked the cash from it. But anyway, so my dad, he said, I said, Dad, I don't want to go to the Army. I'm not a fighter. And I every time I got in a fight, Jay, I got the shit beat out of me. So, but my dad was a fighter, and my 2 brothers were fighters, so they didn't understand somebody not being a fighter. And I was afraid of it. I didn't want to go to the Army. Long story short, I probably said, look, you love to eat these Chicago hot dogs. How about a hot dog stand? How about you always talk about opening a hot dog stand. And I said, well, how would I do that? And my dad said, well, what you do is, he said, I'll lend you $25,000, and I'll own 48%, you'll own 52%. If it makes it, we're cool. I'll be your partner. If it fails, you don't pay me back. But you go to the Army for 2 years. So that was the deal. So I had no options. So I'm like, great, I'll take that deal. So I graduated in June of '82. I visited hot dog stands all around the suburbs of Chicago. In a week, I knew what I should have on the menu, what kind of equipment I should have. And then once I figured that out, I had to figure out where to buy the equipment. So I went to the library, Yellow Pages. We didn't have any Google. Yeah. Yellow Pages, used restaurant equipment in the West Loop now, where everything's happening, Soho House and all that in the West Loop, Chicago, storefront after storefront of predominantly Jewish-owned restaurant supply houses. And it was Herzog store fixtures. I remember I went in, it was the cheapest bid I got. My equipment was $43,000. I went and saw my dad.
For a hot dog stand.
For a hot dog stand. Fryer, steam table hood, grill, griddle, milkshake machine. Used equipment is $43,000. That's a lot of money. It's a lot. So anyway, I saw my pop and I said, Pop, I need more money. Yeah. And my pop said, yeah, no, it's not going to happen. It's $25,000.
What did he do for a living?
My dad was after he fought the Korean War, went to University of Illinois in the GI Bill, got a mechanical engineering degree. Oh, wow. From there, he became an encyclopedia salesman and sold books door to door, knocked on the door, selling Grolier encyclopedias. And my dad then, with his mechanical engineering degree, selling encyclopedias, right? So my dad figured out that he was really not in the encyclopedia sales business. Yeah. He was in the knocking on the door business. Yeah. And he said, if I knock on 100 doors, I get 20 people answer, I can talk to 10. From 10, I get 5 meetings and I can close 4 once I'm in the door. Yeah. So if he knocked on 200 doors, he could close 8. So he just started focused on knocking on the doors and that's really what he focused on. So it wasn't long, so that was 61. By 65, my dad was the Midwest Regional Vice President for Grolier Encyclopedias. He had like a 6-state region, and he was just recruiting people and getting them out on the streets. And then he realized he was in the recruiting business to get more people knocking on the door business, and he just focused on recruiting and getting people out, and became very successful doing it. Yeah. In '67, he saved up some money and borrowed some family money. He started a plastic molding company. It was called Capsonic Group. And he was a really, really brilliant designer. My dad was the pioneer of molding molten plastic around metal inserts. And it was called insert molding. And at that time, that technology, just to make it easy for the viewers to understand what that is. So back in the day, if you had a radio in your car, you had a radio with 2 knobs. One was volume and one was tuner. So the knob came out, and then it had a knob or a post that came out and a knob that went on so you could turn it. Yeah. And the knob was all metal. Yeah. Well, the only place you really needed metal was the metal on metal contact. And if you made the rest of the knob out of plastic and only where it contacted the post metal, you could reduce the cost of that all metal part significantly. Yeah. So it was a huge cost saving. It was adaptable to so many different areas. So he did that. He went through a couple bankruptcies. I remember we were bankrupt in '72. We moved to Cary, Illinois, in the spring of '72, and we moved into this house, and I remember we went bankrupt. We moved from a duplex to a house. And we went bankrupt. My dad went bankrupt, and he actually told us we were going to lose the house, and he actually scraped it by and made it. Really? And then '76, he was bankrupt again, and then after '76, he came through that bankruptcy and said, "I'll never take any debt ever again," and vowed just to deal with what he had. But it forced him to become an accountant, and it forced him to learn his numbers. And circling that story then back to me with Jimmy John's. He said to me, look, so I told you I got the equipment, how much the equipment? I said, I need more money. He's like, no, man, fuck that. I'm not giving you more money. Yeah. It's $25,000. So I said, shit. So anyway, I went that weekend, I was going to visit a buddy at Southern Illinois University. And there was a sandwich shop down there. We were drunk, and we went to the sandwich shop called Booby Sandwiches. And there was a meat slicer refrigerator and a little make table. Yeah. And in the refrigerator, soda, beer, meat, cheese, veggies, and they made sandwiches, and they had a cash register. So I just went from 20 pieces of equipment to 3, and I said, man, I can do a sandwich shop. So I left there inspired by sandwiches. And then, so early June I graduated. Middle of June it was going to be hot dogs. End of June sandwiches. And then I came home from Southern after that party weekend and said sandwiches. Then I started visiting sandwich shops, and Subway was not baking in their stores yet.
How was Subway big at that point?
They were probably 1,500 stores, 1,000 stores at the time.
Was it the biggest sandwich place out there, probably?
For sure. Yeah, Subway was the biggest, and then Blimpie.
Yeah, when did Subway start?
Shit, I don't know. Probably. I have no idea. So I started in 83. They must have started in the late 70s.
I didn't know Subway was that old.
Yeah, Subway. So maybe they were. I don't. I don't even know what the answer to it is. So anyway, long story short, the real key to it was bread, and I just lucked into the bread.
So Subway wasn't baking the bread?
When I first started, they weren't baking in the store.
They were just buying it?
It was being delivered by local bakeries like 2 or 3 times a week. They weren't baking in the store yet. But I stumbled on a store in Milwaukee called Cousin Subs that baked their own bread, and it was just delicious bread. And I never had a fresh baked bun like that before. So I went into, excuse me, I went back to the library and got books on baking bread, right? The library, and Cary Public Library, and I got books on bread and baked my ass off in my mom's kitchen. July, I'm baking bread. Figured out bread, going to Dominic's in Crystal Lake. I lived in Cary. I'm going back and forth to the deli, buying meats, making sandwiches at home. And by early August, I pretty much knew what I needed to have on the menu. And
so you figured out how to perfect your bread yourself?
I did, but then I got it. There's a better story to the bread. So I figured out my bread, and I love my bread. And I'm at the grocery store, and I'm walking through the frozen products aisle, and I see Rich's frozen bread dough, and I just grabbed a bag of it and I threw it in my cart, and I go home with all my meats from the deli, and I take this. There's 4 like 1 pound loaves of dough frozen. So I pull one out, and I thaw it out, and I cut it this way, and I stretch it out, and I bake it, and it's way better than the bread that I made. Way better than my bread. So,
was your mom a good cook?
She was a good cook. Yeah. She wasn't great, but she was good. Yeah. Like everything she did was way above average. Got it. Yeah, she was pretty good. Yeah, so but you know what? Good is, we all have a different definition of what that means, but she was pretty good. Yeah. So the bread was so good, and I looked at it says Rich's Frozen Products, Poughkeepsie, New York. So at that time, New York area code was 212. Yeah. So I got on the dial phone, did 1-212-555-1212, which was directory assistance. I said, can I have the phone number of Rich's Frozen Products, Poughkeepsie, New York? Yeah. And they said, sure, here's the phone number. Yeah. So I dial, and I call Rich's Frozen Products, and I said, she's Rich's Frozen Products. I said, may I speak to Mr. Rich? The lady says, 1 moment, please. I'm like, okay, cool. Boom. This is Bob Rich. I'm like, hi, Mr. Rich. He says, yes, ma'am, what can I do for you? It's really, I'm sorry, I just went with it. Yeah. So anyway, I said, listen, I was at your Dominic's grocery store in Crystal Lake, Illinois, and I tried your frozen bread dough. And I want to open a sandwich shop. My name's Jimmy, and I want to buy your dough so I can put it in my sandwich shop. He says, you're opening a sandwich shop. You're in Illinois? He says, 1 second. He says, give me your phone number, kid. Let me call you back. I said, okay, great. He calls me back in 5 minutes. He says, what are you doing tomorrow? I said, let me check my schedule. I said, it's open. What's up? He says, my buddy Lou Ganella is constructing a frozen dough factory in Schaumburg, Illinois. You know where Schaumburg is? Well, I live in Cary. Yeah. I would grow up in Hoffman Estates. I'm like, yeah, I know where it's at. Yeah. He says, 9 o'clock in the morning. Here's the number. It's on Wiley Road. Go down there. Go see Lou Ganella and Ron Lucchese, and they're gonna show you some bread doughs. They're closer to you than I am. I'm up in New York. I'm like, thank you very much. Yeah. Next day, I had a Chevy Citation. I drive down there, and I walk into this little office, Jay. It's probably 10 by 10. It's entry. There's a little building and a big construction site behind the building, and it's an old-fashioned desk. This is 1982, man. This is like fucking July 1982. And there's 2 hard hats in there. One says Jimmy John's, and one says Ron Lucchese on it. So she says, I said, I'm Jimmy John. She says, oh, we're expecting you. 1 moment, please. And Ron comes out. He says, you're Jimmy? I said, yeah. He said, well, put your hat on. You want to try some bread? My friend Bob Rich told me you want to try some bread dough.
How old were you at this point?
I was 18 years old.
Oh, my goodness.
So I put my hard hat on. I walk through the factory, and I go into this R&D room. Yeah. And Jay, they had, kid you not, 18 to 20 different breads laid out in this room, all fresh. They all these different doughs. They were baked and fresh and hot. Yeah. So I start eating these breads. I'm like, holy shit, this bread is fucking good bread. Like, it was unbelievable. So we were playing around. I'm like, I like this bread. He says, you like that bread, kid? I'm like, hey. He says, oh, well, that'll be your bread. I said, that's great. So I said, can I take a few loaves home and make some? He says, oh, yeah, absolutely. So they were just 2 old guys playing around. They had no idea what was going on or what this would be. Yeah. So long story short, I take that bread, I go home, make my sandwiches. So good.
Did you know that browsing online using incognito mode doesn't actually protect your privacy? That's right. Without added security, you might as well give away all your private data to hackers, advertisers, your ISP, and other prying eyes. That's why I use Ipvanish VPN to make it easy to stay truly private and secure on the internet. Ipvanish helps you safely browse the internet by encrypting 100% of your data. This means that your private details, passwords, communications, browsing history, and more will be completely shielded from falling into the wrong hands. Ipvanish makes you virtually invisible online. You can use Ipvanish on unlimited devices without sacrificing on speed. Your computers, tablets, phones, even devices like your Fire Stick when you're streaming media. Whether I'm at home or in public, I don't go online anymore without using Ipvanish. Ipvanish is offering an incredible 70% off their yearly plan for our listeners with a 30-day money-back guarantee. That's just like getting 9 months for free. Stop sharing with the world everything you stream, everything you search for, and everything you buy. Take your privacy back today with a brand rated 4.6 out of 5 on Trustpilot. Just go to ipvanish.com/Cutler and use promotional code Cutler and claim your 70% savings. That's ipvanish.com/Cutler. Did you have an idea of what sandwiches you wanted to do?
At that point in time, I had 6 sandwiches.
Okay.
I had the original 6 sandwiches. In early August, I invited all my family over. I made them. They voted on 4.
Okay.
So I opened up my original. So I had 4 sandwiches. I had the bread.
Yep.
And then I was going to do it at Eastern Illinois University. Tony Romo went to school there, and Sean, the coach of
Sean Payton.
Sean Payton.
Mike Shanahan went there.
Mike Shanahan went there, and Sean was there when I opened Jimmy John's. As a matter of fact, we knew each other.
Garoppolo did, Jimmy.
Yep, Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yep.
But anyway, small world. So I went down there. I found a location in August of '82. I told my dad, I said, okay, I got it. I'm doing it. So my dad opened me up a bank account and put $25,000 in it, and he gave me a checkbook called a Safeguard Business System. And it was you'd open it up, and there was a ledger and checks on the right side. And when you wrote a check, there was a carbon under it, and it went onto the ledger. And my dad told me, we've been bankrupt twice. He said, you pay for everything COD. He said, no matter what, you got to save $1,000 for your opening capital. So here's your checkbook, and here's $25,000, and remember COD.
So you're your own accountant now too.
Now I'm my own. Yeah, whatever that meant. At the time, whatever that meant.
Uh-huh.
So I bought a used refrigerator, a used meat slicer. I bought a new bread oven. I bought a Sears chest freezer to hold my frozen bread dough. My mom gave me her oven mitts. She gave me a Rubbermaid cake spatula for the mayo. She gave me some Tupperware for the tomatoes. I bought 6 used bread pans for 50 cents a piece. I didn't know that I could buy them new for $4. Like I drove all the way somewhere to some sale to buy them for 50 cents. I could buy them new for $4. Anyway, what do you know? So long story. So my dad. So he gave me the checkbook. I went down to Eastern and I rented a 2-car garage that was turned into a pizza joint that had failed, so it was already paneled up and shit.
How'd you find that place?
I got a realtor and I started driving around looking for locations. And really what I liked about it was between 3 bars. There was a bar behind it and a bar to the left of it and a bar in front of it. And it was attached to a house that was a Dixie Cream donut shop. So I had Ike's in front of me and I had the Panther Lounge. It was the Eastern Illinois Panthers. The Panther Lounge to the left of me, and behind me I had EL Crackers. And so I had these bars. So I picked that spot. I rented an apartment, drove back to Chicago, and I said, I got my leases popped, and then I bought my equipment. So I moved down there. I moved down there September, remodeled the interior, and Jay, I spent $23,871 on the entire job, and I needed $500 because I had to have my opening capital. And I asked my dad, I said, Pop, I need $500 for an ice machine. He's like, dude, no deal. I told you, $25,000. I'm like, shit, here's for real. And he was for real. And so I opened up, I had 4 sandwiches on the menu, and I had 25-cent Cokes. I had a dispenser, and I dispensed a cold cup of Coke for $0.25. And the sandwiches were $2.10, Cokes were $0.25. I was between the bars, and I had 2 buddies with me. I opened up January 13, 1983. And so there's 7 day shifts and 7 night shifts. So one guy took 5 days, one guy took 5 nights, and I took 2 days and 2 nights. So I worked Monday, Tuesday day, Wednesday, Thursday night, and I drank beer and smoked pot Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for about 6 weeks, and one of the guys quit.
Was it doing well?
No, it was doing okay. It was getting by.
Yeah.
Nobody came in, Jay, and the first couple days, I remember the first couple days it was super slow, and I just had a thought, I made a couple sandwiches, cut them up into little pieces, and I took them to the businesses in front of me, and I said, my name's Jimmy, I have a sandwich shop I just opened behind you, and I just want to bring you a sample. This is a ham and cheese sandwich, and I want to bring you a sample. Went back to the shop. They literally followed me back and bought a sandwich. And at that time, the only thing you could get printed overnight was a business card, and you get the business cards overnight. So I had business cards printed. I recruited my brother and my cousins who were down there, and we went out and started sampling the campus. So I was drinking beer and partying, but I was sampling the campus and the bars pretty good too. So by about week 6, my break even, I remember, was $230 a day. That covered our salaries, which were all $200 a week, and my rent was $200 a month. So, and then I had to pay for the food and the utilities, but that was my break even. So, long story short, after we were at 230. The one guy quit. I worked 7 days. The other guy worked 7 nights. We did that for about another 6 weeks. Now it's end of March,
so early. Seven straight days for 6 weeks.
Yeah, 7 straight days for 6 weeks.
Well, I mean, you just worked for 6 straight weeks.
Yeah, 6 straight weeks. Yeah, from 8 to 6 every day. And then after that, now it's like end of March, early April of '83, and the night guy quit. I got a call at 4:30 in the afternoon. He says, "Hey man, I'm not coming in." I said, "Talking about?" He said, "I'm not coming in." I said, "Why?" He said, "I quit. You're an asshole." And I said, next thing I knew, hung up the phone. Customers came in, and then it's 2 a.m. So I closed the shop, and I went in the next morning and opened. And then I started doing full 8 a.m. to 2:30 a.m. in the shop. And I worked that shop the first week, freaking the fuck out, just freaking out, like
what happened?
What's going on here? And the second week, not so bad. By week 3, I'm like, whoa, I can do this. I can really do this. I can really, really, really do this.
4 hours of sleep a night.
Yeah. Well, I was open more 4 or 5. Yeah. It was fine. Yeah. But Jay, my childhood, I graduated second to last in my class, went through 2 bankruptcies, and I was the fat kid. And back then, just like it is now, you could really discriminate against fat kids then. And now you can still discriminate against fat people, right? I mean, my childhood was shit. Yeah. It was brutal. Yeah. It was fucking brutal. My childhood was horrible. Yeah. It was really, we had a lot of love in the house, but it was tough. And you know what? And it's hard when you get bullied. It just sucks. Yeah. So here I'm doing this job. By week 4, open to close, I'm like jamming. I know my customers. I know who they are.
It gave you purpose.
I knew their names. It gave me purpose, and they were thanking me, and they were excited to see me. I was excited to see them. And the first time I had something that I could do. And then came May, and I'm jamming, and now the place is really, really rolling. And then May 15th comes, semester ends, students leave, and here I am in this sub shop. No business, sitting there going,
what now?
What the fuck? What do I do now? What do I do now? So I watched.
Did you try to get anybody else to help you during that period? Or
it was survival mode, man. It was survival mode. I mean, if people came in and they wanted to work and make sandwiches,
you didn't really have any time to probably find somebody because you were just running the shop.
I was just running the shop, and then once I got doing it, it's like your workouts, Jay. Yeah. Once you get working 2 hours, working out, you can do it, right? Yep. So I could learn from you on that one. But anyway, yeah, it was really, really, that's just the way it went, and I figured it out and got it, and remember I told you my dad said pay for everything COD? Yep. And I got to tell you something. I paid for everything COD, and I put the money in the bank every day. But I never kept.
You weren't keeping track of how much.
No, I wasn't keeping track. So I opened the store. It was $23,871 was my original start. I can't believe I remember these numbers. So I had like $1,289 or something like that, or $1,229 to work with. So I put that. I kept all the deposit slips, entered them on the ledger, and I had an adding machine, and I saw deposits and bank balance. I just subtracted the first check I wrote and added the deposit. That day, I took that bank balance from whatever was $1,200. I finished and brought my bank balance up to May, up to current, and I had $18,000 in the bank. I'm like, I'm a fucking millionaire. I'm like, let's go. And that's when I understood what my dad. From that day forward, I watched that bank balance go up and down every single day. Yeah. And then
became obsessed with it.
It became obsessed with it, like wacko, like crazy. So I worked through the summer. I whittled that bank balance down to about $3,000. Made it through the summer. Worked open to close because I had to, and it's just what I had to do. And then students came back in the fall, and I started rolling. And that summer, I hired a guy. I figured out that if you're going to be a boss, you can't be an asshole. Got to take the toughest jobs for yourself, the toughest shifts for yourself. When stuff is hitting the fan, you got to lead. When the toilet's plugged, you got to stick your arm down and pull it out. You got to do what you got to do. And I figured that out, and I wasn't afraid of it anymore because I figured it out. I learned how to lead, and ended up the year I did $150,000 in sales and made $40,000. And the second year I did $188,000, made $55,000. Both years I split it with my dad, and then I bought my dad out halfway through year 3. It was $25,000 and 10% interest, so I paid him $30,000, and he's like, "No, dude, compound interest." I'm like, Jesus Christ, So it's a 3x investment in 2.5 years, and he gets me for another $1,200. But I think he was teaching me a lesson.
Sure.
So then I owned the business.
I mean, those 3 years had to just fly by.
You know what? They were brutal.
Yeah.
They didn't really fly. It was, that time years were long back then when you were 18.
Oh yeah.
So it wasn't really flying by. It was long and tenuous and grinding. But I did it. I replaced myself there. I moved to Macomb, Illinois, and built my second store. The day before I opened Macomb, the manager I was taking with me that I trained in Charleston got killed in a car wreck. Jeez. So I had to delay my opening a week. Buried my buddy. Moved to Macomb alone and did it all over again, open to close by myself. But I knew I could do it, Jay. Yeah. I knew I could do it. So I moved to Macomb, and then it took me 2 years to replace myself there. Third one, moved to U of I at 41 East Green Street. I did that store. And then I moved to Purdue. I did that store. Then I moved to East Lansing. Did that. Then I moved to Ann Arbor. I did that one. Then I moved to Carbondale. Did SIU. So in 10 years, so I'd save up my money, replace myself, get another checkbook, and go build another store, buy used equipment.
Was it hard to find somebody to replace yourself?
After I got doing it for a while, so I paid for everything COD, and then when you're working with kids, there were kids that actually got excited about what I was doing, so I'd show them how it was working and what was going on. And then I figured out that if I could give them 25% of the action and let them get a piece of it, that it really inspired them to treat the customers the way I treated the customers, and to scrape all the mayo out of the mayo jar and not throw it out with a cup left in the mayo jar. And it really taught them to cut the meat all the way down to the end and really use scraps, so I just learned that hustle. I learned how to give people a share in it, and there was no bullshit because they were writing the checks on my account for the food, and it was totally transparent. So once I started doing that, it was not hard. It was, they were making $200 a week and another 25% of $60,000, so they're making 30 grand back then was big money. It's like 60 grand today.
You found a way to get them invested in the company as much as you were.
Absolutely found a way to get people invested and get them, and to this day, I mean, up until the time I sold the business, I did that all the way up until I sold the business. But to speed it up, because to respect your time here, 10 years I had 10 stores. Okay, and I had no debt because I didn't know how to get debt. I didn't know how to go to bank. They asked me for a business plan, and I was intimidated. I didn't know what a business. Oh, I'm dyslexic too, so I can't read and comprehend, right? So I just saved up my money. So my accountant says to me,
"There's an odd number of like CEOs and billionaires and millionaires that are dyslexic." Did you know that? Is that right? Yeah. And I read a book about it at one point. It was in something, and they kind of take it back to, dyslexic kids have to work so hard early on that that work ethic kind of carries them on in life. Anyway, tangent.
No, it's not tangent at all. It's interesting you say that because when my teachers, I'm pretty street smart, but I'm not book smart, and I'm not, but. My teachers really used to say it all the time. You have so much ability, and you're and you don't apply yourself. I'm like, I really thought there was something wrong with me. I don't know what you're talking about, because I'd read your shit, not comprehend it, but I'd read it. I wouldn't comprehend it. So that maybe it is what it is, but I'll take it. It's been good to me, so I got it. But anyway, my accountant told me after 10 stories, he says, "You made $1 million." I said, "You mean I have $1 million in the bank?" He says, "You have $1 million in the bank."
This is what, 93?
This is 93, $1 million in the bank. And then I had people calling me to franchise. People wanted to franchise. So I'd spent 10 years on the road, built 10 stores, so I franchised it. And I joined an organization called YPO, Young Presidents Organization. And YPO said that the entrepreneur has to give up to professional managers because they're not capable. So I was really capable of running my stores. And the franchise side, I hired some pros from one of the big hamburger chains, maybe the biggest one, I won't say who, to run my franchise company. And I run the company stores, and I trained their people I trained the franchisees. So from 93 to 2003, I built my 10 stores to 25 stores. And from 93 to 2003, we built 200 franchises. My 25 stores in 03 were making me $4.5 million a year, no debt. I owned my house at that time. I was married to Leslie. I just had kids. I met Leslie in 97. I adopted Spencer. He was 4, and then we had 2 more kids. And so I had 3 young children, and it's 2003. And I was loving the franchise fees. It was intoxicating. Yeah. But 70 of those 200 stores were failing.
Really?
And I just spent 20 years on the road. I just settled down, had kids. I'm in Champaign living with my kids. Moved from Lincoln Park in 99 to go settle into Champaign, and that's where I'm going to raise my family and do my thing. And James North, who's the now president of the company, of Jimmy John's, he said, hey, we have 70 failing stores. What are we going to do? He says, we got to go on the road and turn them around. I said, who does? He says, you and I. I'm like, you want me to go on the road? Again? After being on the road? He says, yeah, we're going to go turn around those stores. So we had 70 failing stores.
Did you just buy them back?
No, we didn't. We just went into their stores. And literally what they weren't doing is following systems and procedures. It's all systems. Pilots that use checklists live longer than pilots that don't. Restaurants that use systems and procedures are far more successful than restaurants saying, what are we going to do today? Our Jimmy John's was all systemized. It was all organized and documented. So we would go in literally, clean up the restaurant, take all the equipment away from the walls, clean the floors, clean the toilets, clean the office, dump out all the old shit, clean out the refrigerators, get it clean, get it organized, get new whatever was ugly or yellow or dirty or stained, cutting boards, whatever, replace it, lead by example, show them what to do. And the first one took 2 weeks, the second one took 10 days, the third one took 8 days. Then we had a reputation, and we had a list and let people know when we were coming to help them turn around their stores. So then actually people were excited for us to come in, and they were ready for us. And as we got to the end, we could do a turnaround in like a week. We could turn a store around. Essentially, they weren't following the model, period. And so anyway, it took 18 months. We thought it'd take 12. It took us 18 months to turn around. So we turned around 63, and we shut down 7 of those stores. And from that day forward, I had my house in Champaign, I owned it. I had a cabin in Wisconsin, I owned it. I had a 1981 Falcon 10 jet that I bought for $700,000, I owned it. My 25 stores were pumping dough. I had no debt, I owned everything I had. And so on the franchise side, I let those hamburger folks go. We're going to do it my way. I know, in this case, YPO was wrong. It's my way. So anyway, when people came to Champaign to buy a franchise, they said, look, it's nights, it's weekends, it's 24/7, 365. It's like raising cattle. They get sick at nights, they get sick on Christmas, they get sick on Hanukkah. So if you're going to do this, it's hard. And I just started telling people the truth because I didn't want to do what I just got done doing. I wasn't going on the road again, and I had enough money. And then we made it. We did a 3-week training program, 2 weeks in Champaign and a week apprenticeship. We made it really hard. And as Jimmy John's got ramped up, and I started telling people the more they wanted to do it. And so anyway, we built the business that way, and we did it one at a time. We gave, if you came to us, even though you're a wealthy, successful business guy and football player, we would give you one store. And that pissed off a lot of people. They'd want to buy an area. But Jimmy John's, everything is homemade. Everything was from scratch. It's way harder than a Taco Bell because that stuff comes in, you heat it up, cook it, goes out the door. So it was hard. So anyway, we gave people, and if people were into it, great, we helped them. And if they weren't, we helped them get out really quick if it wasn't for them.
So every 60 seconds, 2 children are trafficked. Goya Cares has launched their new educational series that combats human trafficking and is committed to ending that statistic. The series is titled Block Traffic and was just nominated for Human Rights Campaign of the Year and Activism Campaign of the Year by PR News. You can check it out along with their PSAs at blocktraffic.org. Together with Goya Cares, we can be the light that blocks traffic. That was probably that's probably a huge key. Like people getting people out quick. This is a mistake.
get them out quickly before they absolutely just destroy something.
100% get it, because we're just damaging us.
Yeah.
Just damaging us. But then we went by the time 2005, 2006 came. I remember 2006 we made $14 million in profit. In 2007 we made 22, and then the thing just exploded. So
$25,000 investment.
Yeah. From 25,000, and then from that point on, it was just a rocket ship, and so we spent almost 10 years doing almost 30 restaurants a month. Mm-hmm. So we had a fleet of airplanes. We had 3 planes and 15 pilots, and it was. But we would go. Even just to give your viewers an idea of what we did on locations, we literally we'd go into a city and we would take 3 people. We'd have a car driver, a navigator, and a computer operator, note taker. And we literally, LA, we drove every single street, north, south, east, west, and all those crazy streets in LA around Hollywood and all that. And we would organize every city, and we would identify the city, the area. We'd break it down into pods, and then we'd number the locations where we wanted them to be, and the order we wanted them to be opened up. So we'd look at what the data would tell us on a city, and then we would drive the city, and our franchisee would drive the city, and we would overlay all those 3. So we really did the homework. We did more homework than most people with real estate, even with construction. Yeah. Once when they did the construction, we did all the plans in-house. Uh-huh. Before we let them close up the walls, we would fly there and look at how all the connections were made, make sure there was bracing in the walls so the shelves didn't come through the sheetrock. We were maniacal about doing it all right. We spent a ton of money doing it right, because I don't want to go back and do it over again. I'd done that for 20 years. Yeah. I knew how to do this. Yeah. And so anyway, we were flying, man, and the business just got giant. I think I built it to 2,888 stores before I sold the company, and
so almost 3,000 stores in 20 years. 15 years?
Yeah, well, 2019 I did the final transaction. And so from 83, 93, 03, almost 30 years, 29 years. Yeah, built it from nothing to almost $3 billion.
Did it become just too big?
You know what, Jay? The people that bought me, they said, "Do you have data?" Yeah. I said, "What's data?" Dude, I'm doing almost $2.8 billion in sales, and they're like, "What?" I'm like, "What's data? You don't know what data is?" I don't know what data is. Yeah. I pay all the bills that come in the office every day. Yep. I don't have any debt. Yep. This is how much cash I have in the bank.
Got a system opening.
And this is how we roll. Yeah. And so the company that bought us, they were really, really smart. So I think that entrepreneurs are different than people that can take a big company and run a big company. Yeah. It's 2 different brains.
Absolutely.
I was in the uncomfortable business. I succeeded because I did everything that was uncomfortable. Yeah. I never missed a shift in my life. Mm. In my life, I never missed. When I was to be there, I was there. When shit hit the fan, I was there. If a franchisee needed a refrigerator, they needed help, I was there to help them. If one of my employees needed a meat slicer, we were loading it on a truck or in a plane and taking it to Lansing, Michigan, and delivering a cold table in the back of a pickup truck. Yeah. We made stuff happen, and because we made ourselves uncomfortable and we did everything right now, we really there was a competitive edge, and then the delivery. Yeah. Let's talk about the delivery. Yeah. When I started delivering, it was really out of survival. I needed more sales through my box, and I couldn't afford A locations. So I started hustling delivery, and delivery was like 35% of our business. And so this is after we came off the road and turned those stores around. I had a marketing guy that wanted to do consumer surveys. So we go to Chicago, December of 04. We're going to do consumer surveys. 2 age groups: 18 to 34, 34 to 52. All sandwich eating consumers: Jimmy John's, Cozy, Potbelly, Quiznos, Jersey Mike, Subway. Sandwich eating consumers. So. Quality and freshness, Subway 0 to 10. Subway gets a 6, and I'm waiting for my 11 out of 10, right? Because I'm Jimmy John's. So I get a 7. Uh-huh. I'm like,
shit.
Right, exactly. So I said, bring in the old people. They know what quality is. They know what Hellman's mayonnaise is. Old people, 34 to 52. I'm 58, right? So the old people. So they bring in the next group. Subway 6, Jimmy John's a 7. I'm like, no way. Yeah. No way. I said, let's go to Michigan. We'll do it there. Yeah. Generation 2 franchisees, better trained, better locations. I own the stores at Michigan and Michigan State. Another really good operator owned the ones in the city between the campuses. Let's go. $100,000 average unit volumes higher than Chicago. I'll show you guys what's up. February 05, Detroit. By the way, don't go to Detroit in February. It's not a great city.
Oh, I've been there.
Go south.
Yeah.
So, dude, both age groups. Subway 6, Jimmy John 7, both age groups. I'm like, wait a second, time out. We're going to Champaign, Illinois. We're on the Sandwich Mafia. Okay, we're going to Champaign, Illinois. I'm the Sandwich Mafia. March, Champaign, Illinois. Don't go there either in March. March, Champaign, Illinois. Get it all set up. 2 age groups. 6, Subway, quality and freshness. 7, Jimmy John's, quality and freshness. I finally figured out after 3 different cities and 3 different consumer surveys that they were spending $300 million a year telling people that they're fresh. I wasn't doing $300 million a year in sales. That's when I learned the power of advertising. When I saw that what that was doing to people. So I had an aha moment. Another thing came from that. They said if Subway was a car, what would it be? It was always Ford Escort, Ford Tempo. If Jimmy John's was a car, what would it be? And it was Corvette, Ferrari, Camaro. So we used to say sub so fast you'll freak, but if you called in for a delivery at 11 in the morning, it would be 20 minutes, 11:30, 25 minutes, noon, hour, 12:30, hour 20, 1 o'clock, hour, 1:30, 45 minutes, 2 o'clock, back down to 20 minutes. So it was this real bell curve on the delivery times. So I had an epiphany in the middle of the night about a month after the last survey, and my epiphany was I'm going to shrink my delivery area of my company stores down in half. And I'm going to deliver those sandwiches no matter what. I'm going to do a maximum drive time of 5 minutes during peak traffic. And then we had this saying at Jimmy John's for the operators, which was out the door in under 4. It means from the time you take the order, make the sandwiches out the door in under 4. All those freaky fast deliveries you got, they were out the door in under 4 with a 5-minute peak traffic delivery time with a couple minutes of errors while we were delivering in 15 minutes.
So did you have someone was someone just on phone orders making sandwiches, and then there were other people making sandwiches with people in the store?
Jay, I would have 4 people answering 4 telephones, and sometimes I'd have 3 make lines in the sandwich shops with 4 or 5 people on each make line. Our stores, some of our stores would have $1.5 million, $2.5 million in sales. Jeez. I mean, we were crushing. Yeah. I mean, these things were sandwich factories. I mean, they were machines. So yeah, and thank God the internet really changed everything a lot. But this was all mechanical, all by hand. Yeah. And so, but anyway. I shrunk the delivery area in my company stores, Jay, and this was like April. I called James in the middle and I said, going to shrink the deliveries. What are you talking about? I said, we're going to make the delivery. It's going to be very deliberate. This is what we're going to do. So in that time, the store sales were soft. Panera came out. I think it was St. Louis Bread Company then. Atkins Diet was big. So it was just like it was not a good time. Yeah. So I rose my same store sales that year, my company stores, to like 14% up. Franchise stores were down. So I got with my franchisees in January and I said, here's my graph, here's your graph. If you want me to tell you my secret, you have to sign over my ability to control your delivery area and you have to trust me. So it took us a couple hours to get all 35 people in the room to sign that document. So they all signed it. I had power of attorney, control their delivery area. They said, okay, what's the secret? I said, I'm shrinking your delivery area in half. And they're like, fuck you. They were so pissed off. So pissed off. We did it, shrunk the delivery area that year, 24% same store sales increase for the whole chain.
Because that's scary. Because I mean, you're taking out some of their. They think you're taking out some of the profit, but it's.
Yeah, essentially what happened, Jay, in 5 years, our average unit volumes went from like $400,000 to $890,000 a store just by shrinking the delivery. And what I decided I wanted to be, once I figured that out, I really started getting sharper. As you get a little older, get sharper. I said, you know what? I'm not going to be the greatest sandwich in the world, but I'm going to be consistent. Yeah. And if you're going out with your wife or your kids need something now, I'm going to be the guy that can do it for you now. Yeah. And once I focused on that was lights out. And that's when Jimmy, they're like, how do you do it? How do you do it? We never told anybody. Yeah. And even my POS system, which we designed both that whole POS system, we designed it all in-house, our delivery and our cash registers. We designed it all in-house ourselves. We didn't buy somebody else's. We wanted to do only what we wanted it to do. And we're the only chain in America that has one POS system. So many chains have so many different cash register systems, but we had ours. So we designed it to do what we wanted it to do. Yeah. Another thing people don't know about Jimmy John's is the whole brand is 6 meats, 1 cheese, 2 breads. There's nothing to it. Potato chips, cookies, veggies, pickles, peppers, ranch dressing, but ranch dressing is mayonnaise, peppers, and ranch dressing mix and buttermilk. I mean, there's
6 meats,
1 cheese, 2 breads.
That's it.
There's nothing to it. We just combined them different. That's all. So it's just like Taco Bell. They just, everything's chips and cheese and chips and taco, cheese and chips. Break up the taco shells and make nachos.
You simplified the hell out of it.
Simplified the hell out of it. But that's a lot of people don't know that. Like, how do you do this? How do you do it? What was the trick? The trick was simple and always...
And efficient.
Simple, efficient, cheap to open. And so the model was really, the average store cost about $400,000. The average store made $160,000. And then the manager was getting a base of 40 and making another 25% of that 160. So they were making 80. And so the managers were happy, people were happy. We had no turnover, and the business was just a well-oiled machine. And it just ran like that. And like I said, we were opening almost 30 stores a month for 10 years. There was a point in Champaign, Illinois, where I was doing almost 10,000 hotel rooms a month for like nine years. 10,000 hotel rooms a month. Could you imagine the impact that had on the community in Champaign, Illinois?
Incredible.
Yeah, zero.
You're not going to get that.
Zero.
Uncut with Jay Cutler is brought to you by Progressive. Progressive helps you get a great rate on car insurance, even if it's not with them. They have this nifty comparison tool that puts rates side by side, so you choose a rate and coverages that work for you. Say you're interested in lowering your rate on your car insurance, visit Progressive.com to get a quote with all the coverages you want. You'll see Progressive's rate, and then their tool will provide options from other companies, all lined up and easy to compare. So that all you have to do is choose the rate and coverages you like. Progressive gives you options so you can make the best choice for you. You could be looking forward to saving money in the near future. More money for, say, a pair of noise-canceling headphones, an Instapot, more puzzles, whatever brings you joy. Get a quote today at Progressive.com. It's one small step you can do today that can make a big impact on your budget tomorrow. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy. So, I mean, you got huge at this point, almost 3,000 stores. And were you burnt out? Was it just time to hand it over? Or what was that thought process?
Thought process was I went from helping people win. When I sold Jay, 14 of 17 department heads came from the sandwich shop. And when I sold, all of those 17 people became multimillionaires. I paid out $180 million to those 17 people. So 14 came from the sandwich shop, right? So what happened was unintended consequences of the changes in the definition of what a manager is that came from the administration at the time. These were an administration that was really well intended, and their perception was that we take advantage of people, and that's how come we make so much money, because we take advantage of people. They never ran a sandwich shop before.
No.
They didn't call me and say, hey, can you take me through how this thing is working, why it's so successful? Because our word is that you're taking advantage of people. And it was the Obama administration. So wonderful people, bright as shit, right? They all went to Vanderbilt. They had fancy the certificate of where they went to school, and they had all that shit, right? Diploma. Yeah, I never had one of those. So, but anyway, they changed the labor laws, and so I ended up first. All my franchisees really duplicated what we did. So after the labor laws changed, and they said the bonus doesn't count for compensation. And the hours that they worked during, while students were in session, they would work 60, 70 hours a week. And when students weren't, they worked 30 hours a week. They didn't care about the 30 hours.
Why didn't the bonus count as compensation?
It was the administration.
So it was just a bonus, just a one-off thing that just counted for nothing?
Counted for nothing. And as a result, we really took advantage of people.
Yeah.
So the small law firms started suing all my independent mom and pops. Average owner had 3.5 stores. That was the average. So they're all getting sued, and then the administration made me a co-employer. And once it made me a co-employer, it became a giant class action lawsuit, and I was responsible for how we were taking advantage of all these people. Wow. And so now I'm in litigation, this major litigation against the U.S. Department of Labor. Yeah. And then the last administration appointed all the union bosses as NLRB judges for the National Labor Relations Board. So they were never ruling in favor of the law. They ruled in favor of politics. Sure. So we continued to go up and up and up and up and continue. So finally,
you're in a war at this point.
I'm in a war, and I spent like $30+ million on this lawsuit, and then finally we got past the appellate and past almost to the Supreme Court, and we won the whole thing on a summary judgment. But in the meantime, Jay, I had almost 3,000 stores open. I had 3,000 additional stores sold. We were going like a rocket ship, and literally it was like hitting, it'd be like you busting out 2 knees 3 years into your career and you're done.
Yep.
And it just was brutal. And so the people to me, it was personal.
Sure.
It was a personal attack.
Yep.
And to the people that bought it now, they were smarter than me. They owned Arby's, they owned Buffalo Wild Wings. They really, really, really smart people.
Yeah.
I mean, really smart people.
Yeah.
And they weren't afraid of this at all.
Whatever.
Yeah, a lawsuit it's like a bump in the road. It's like, of course there's a lawsuit. You've got a multi-billion-dollar business.
That
I'm like, really? That's like
comes with the territory.
Comes with the territory.
Yeah.
But for me, it was personal. It was because I was all love for me. I spent so much of my heart and soul helping people win, and so much I spent, and it was disheartening. It was I didn't, and then I'm a hunter. And I was the first guy to get canceled, I've hunted everything in the world, right?
Yeah.
I've given millions of dollars to wildlife enhancement, and I'm a hunter. And we're all the descendants of the greatest hunters in the history of man, because if you couldn't hunt, you didn't eat.
Yeah, that's the only reason anyone's here.
Yeah, and it's all organic, right?
Yeah, it is.
So, we still, all we eat is wild meat at home and wild fish. And anyway, it was time for me. It was time for me to go. I was rich for a long, long time. I already owned all my toys and all my homes, and I didn't need any more watches.
Yep.
And but really, I was beat up.
Yeah.
I was beat, and I said uncle, and I sold to some great people.
Yep.
I got great partners, or great folks that bought us, and they're doing a great job with Jimmy John's. I mean, it's amazing what they're doing with it. So,
Do you miss the grind at all?
Zero.
Oh, really?
Zero.
Oh, wow.
No, my friend is Papa John everywhere he goes. He wears a shirt that says Papa, and I'm like, nobody knows who I am.
Yep.
I love it.
Yep.
I am so. I was married before to a great gal. We're divorced. God bless her. She's got a great husband. I've got a wonderful wife. We don't miss each other.
Yep.
We're, let it be.
Yep.
So it's very much, that's where I was with the business.
Yeah.
And so it was time. It was time for me to fly. And so anyway, October of 2019 was the final. And as I started making real big money, starting in about 2007, and it just kept going like a rocket ship. I started to have to learn how to invest, and so I started in 2007, 2008 learning how to invest, and it's really hard to make money. It's 5 times harder to hold on to it.
Yeah.
And I don't look for opportunity. We create strategy and we execute the strategy. We ask a lot of questions. So we invest capital now, and we have a family office. We're a big farm business. We're a big farm operation in Illinois. But it's tough. But I really like what we're doing now.
Well, so it sounds like you're really diverse. You're doing the fun things that you want to do.
Yeah.
And again, money gives you a lot of freedom.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, it does. And I've gotten involved with some great brands and been able to invest with some great people. The partners that took a small piece of us back in 2007. We bought an outdoor gear company called Kuiu.
Yeah.
We bought control of it from the founder, and which has been incredible. We're involved in 2 great brands now. We're a franchisee of Arby's and Panera and Taco Bell and Pizza Hut, where we have an investment in that. And we have a great brand, though, that we just bought, was Crispy Crunchy Chicken. Have you ever had Crispy Crunchy Chicken? It's the largest chicken in a convenience store. You buy our package and it goes into a convenience store. So we have 2,800 locations. We just did that deal with our original partners. They were the lead on it, but I was a next significant investor with them alongside of them. So we have Crispy Crunchy Chicken, and then we have a really hot coffee investment called 7 Brew Coffee out of Bentonville, Arkansas, which is a small little double drive-through, fast sort of similar to Dutch Brothers type of a deal. So that's hot as well. So we're just having fun, doing different stuff, investing in great people.
Printing money.
Well, not necessarily. I just told you about the good ones. I haven't told you about the bad ones. So we got plenty of those too. But it averages out,
I'm sure it does.
Sure.
So you're having fun, you're hunting, you're living your best life. I mean, you put your heart and soul into Jimmy John's and created something unbelievable. And I'm sure many people don't know the story of how it started and how it happened. So I appreciate you sharing it. It's amazing.
Well, for sure. I appreciate you having me here to share it. And Yeah, man. It is what it is. It's real and it's big and it's significant. And I was talking with somebody, a friend of mine, David Jacklin, the other day about my family foundation, this work we're doing at UC Davis, California, with obesity, because I've struggled with it my whole life. My son Fred struggles with it, and so we've been involved with them for 3 years, and we have some real breakthrough stuff going on. And my David Jacklin stopped me. He said, Jimmy, he said, what do you think is more significant, the Ford Family Foundation or the Ford Motor Company? I said the Ford Motor Company. He said, the charity that you've done with Jimmy John and creating 100,000 jobs, 3,000 locations. And that was just like a month ago. We were at a board meeting in California. We have a couple wineries there. And he brought that up to me. And that was really profound. I'm like, you know what? We really did do a lot for this country. And
gosh, yes.
So it's pretty cool.
It's very cool.
It's
well,
pretty
I mean,
cool.
you're real, you're authentic, you put your heart and soul into things, and it obviously it shows and pays off.
Yeah, so.
Cool.
Yeah, man, thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you. It was fun. It was a blast.
Right on.
Okay, that is a wrap on Jimmy. He's a lot of fun. Amazing story though. $25,000, but you can see how hard of a worker he was. How invested he was. He loves people. He loves helping people. One of the most generous dudes I know. So. Fun story, amazing story. Hope you enjoyed that one. Probably learned a little bit more about Jimmy John's than you thought. It's not just a random box sandwich stop. There's a lot to it, and he's the guy that made it happen, and big fan of his. So go out, get some Jimmy John sandwiches, and hit me up Instagram, Twitter, and we'll keep rocking and rolling. Thanks.